Hello, and welcome to Otherworld Connections. Yeah, it is 3 minutes past 4 p.m. Yes, that's right. On a Friday, down here on the central plateau of the North Island of New Zealand. And where you are, it might be closer to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on a Thursday. Yeah, 4 p.m. for me. I didn't plan for that daylight savings situation. But here we are, and you're tuned into Revolution Radio, the planet's #1 listener supported radio station on the internet. And yeah, it's listener supported, so please consider helping support our efforts and our airtime by visiting the station's donations section on our website revolution.radio, and that's pretty much on the homepage. And you can donate through crypto if you don't mind. You can become a patron. You can donate through DonorBox, an international alternative to PayPal. You can make a direct payment for North American residents only. Monthly goal, $3K. 3 large. Amount raised, $1,588.25. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's all on revolution.radio, where you can tune in and listen. And you can also go there and you can go to, there's Twitter, Facebook account. What am I trying to say? Discord. Yep, up on the navigation bar, you can go to Discord and join the Discord server, where there is a chat room, and you can feel like a teenager all over again. Also, for this show, I am streaming live on YouTube. The link can be found in the Revolution Radio chat room on the Discord server. Yes. What else was I going to say? Things and stuff. So we're talking about, I'm talking about a little bit. I've been talking about AI, and as you can see, if you check that link, the thumbnail is made with AI. I just jump on there, type in Snow White, press enter, and I get something, and that's acceptable. That's acceptable enough. Does that make me an AI apologist? Perhaps it does. But in this show, I'm going to play you a video of this wonderful young lady that I discovered called Val. And she has a vision for the future, where the encrappening of the internet is forced to slow down and reverse, to bring a balance to human creativity and creation and creative output. Because content creation as we know it in 2025, it is not creative. And I discovered that looking in the mirror one day. And my hands had like 6 fingers. No, but I was realizing that I hadn't picked up my guitar in a long time. I hadn't been writing songs, and boy, that was really, really sad. My songs weren't too bad, and I'm probably I'll share them on the show as part of a sort of anti-AI pushback. And I think it is about pushing back rather than anything else, by just being human and being creative. That being said, I mean, AI, I've been talking about this with Julia the last couple of days. Why? Because, well, I will say, a dear friend in Virginia sent us a link. It's Mike Adams talking about sort of getting with the AI program, getting with the jive. And this is something that I've heard many years ago, probably at least 3 years ago, from the bro-trepreneur crowd, being these self-starting, self-made, very rich people that have made their money on the internet. People like Gary V. Who else? I mean, I don't even remember. I try honestly. I mean, I don't put too much stock in what they say, but these people that everybody knows by name that happen to be on the internet, you don't really know what they do, but they have a lot of money, and they have, like, they might own a football team or part of a football team, and they have stocks here, and they have Bitcoin there, and they have all these things and fingers in all kinds of pies, and it's all branding and everything's affiliated, and they're worth a lot of money, and they have their own jet and that sort of thing. And what we see now, and this isn't really a warning or anything, I think that Mike Adams article, or Mike Adams sort of bit that he did in one of his shows, was pretty informative, and he was just talking about AI and where it's going, and what he recommends that we do, or what we keep in mind, and that sort of thing. And it is kind of important to know about these things, because yes, AI is there, right? AI is growing. AI is being used more and more and more. I personally think to say that AI is here to stay, that's a bit like accepting slavery, right? Oh, it's here to stay, you just got to get on with it. So I think we're always going to be in this tussle, because I think in a way it's a manifestation of the Ahrimanic force, which Rudolf Steiner talks about, hypermaterialized, anti or despiritualized, selfish energy. And it is selfish in the sense that, like, one example would be like using AI for things that you can't really be bothered with. That's kind of selfish. I think it's probably more considerate to maybe ignore someone or just leave it be than to use AI to make something of you and them. Like, what am I trying to say here? I kind of trailed off a bit. Mike Adams, I should really find that video and play it. It's only 10 minutes, but he's saying stuff like, well, some good advice, like keep in mind of things that you can do that AI is not really going to be able to do, or robots, like cooking and washing the dishes. And that was good information, because you do see videos of, like, and I think this is fear porn when you watch a video of a robot doing all the housework and stuff. It's not really, it's not really the reality, and it's probably not going to be soon. So it's good to hear people that have their fingers in these kind of pies, that know a lot more than me, to watch that and to know, like, hey. And I guess I always maybe regret not doing a trade like plumbing or, electrical stuff, or, that sort of thing. But in a sense, you can always just do it yourself, right? Even though you're not really allowed to. But I mean, these things are possible. But what I'm saying is that, AI is not necessarily going to take over everything. And then I was thinking about things where AI is kind of better, and that, like, maybe some jobs are going to be taken away, and maybe these are jobs that you don't really want. You don't want people to do, or people aren't. I think it comes down to, this is where this talking point. Okay, someone I know has to deal with PAs, personal assistants to self-important people, wealthy people, famous people, rich people, people that don't have time to do just the day-to-day stuff, and they get their PA to do it. And the PA, and generally, personal assistants, this is not a blanket statement, but generally speaking, PAs are very difficult to deal with, and are actually a real bore and a bear on the people that they source things on behalf of for, because they want to make themselves super important too, because I'm doing this work for this person. Well, AI would be a good I'm sorry, AI would be good for these people that think they're too important to look after their own affairs, and they can go and do their AI thing and just get like AI to send automated emails, go and collect this thing for me, go and do this thing for me, go and do that thing for me, and it's just a tick, a buzzer. You don't really need humans, nor do you actually want them if it's a position that just promotes, undesirable, antisocial, condescending behavior. But my point is that what the language that's coming into the freedom community and the truth community and alternative media community is the same language coming from the brotrepreneurs of the last few years. It's exactly the same. So all that's really happened is the royal we, have adopted the viewpoint of today's and tomorrow's wealthy people. Now, make of that what you will, but for me, I think it's a dated view, and it's not I don't subscribe to that view. I think we have to be aware of it, and we have to be knowledgeable about what these kind of people are thinking that are engaging with these things and how they move forward. But I don't think that means that it is the truth, in the sense that we don't have to engage with AI. I've gone back to songwriting. I've gone back to picking up my guitar, and I feel better for it. And I will show you some of my stuff as it comes along. But the point of my story is what we are learning now about AI has been already understood and made use of by the people that have that are essentially employees of big tech. Not employees, maybe like franchisees or contractors. But any income that you're going to be making through this kind of tech or using this kind of tech is going to be making the technocrats all that much richer. And as we see with people struggling with, say, their YouTube channel and making money and thriving, the squeeze the grip gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So to make AI look like this sort of gold mine opportunity for creating freedom for yourself, it's not actually true. I'm not saying that Mike Adams is explicitly saying it like that, but I think there's some good information. Julia's just posted that through to me. Thank you, my darling. That's on Brighteon. I'm just going to paste it. I won't play it. What I said is pretty right, but if you're not sure, copying the link right now. I'm going to paste it in Z. Metal Rabbit says hello, Gino. I say hello, Mr. Metal Rabbit. Nice to see you / hear from you. There we go. Posted that. Brighteon. Yeah. So Mike Adams, which is something interesting that I want to look at, is he's got his own AI engine. So if I do use it, I'm going to use his. I think the way he talks about it is much more balanced than a lot of people. What else was I going to say about the AI? Maybe I might get a customer service email, clearly written by AI, the tone. If you converse with ChatGPT, it is frustrating. It is annoying. It is not human. It's not as much, and I think the more you do that and the more you try to make the shoe fit, then it's going to affect you more. It's going to benefit AI, and it's not going to benefit you. It's like a dehumanization, and some things just need to be said. Sometimes things just need to just come out of your mouth, which can also be just typed through the keyboard. You can just go, hey. You might get an email that is really, I guess what I'm saying is gaslighting and gatekeeping are becoming like a default structure of human-to-human interaction. You might get a message or something, a communication from someone, and it's just like, it's a bit like you're in one of these debates that someone has to be the winner, and it's not really about just sharing or connecting. And we've already sort of digitized ourselves so much, right, with the internet, which is great. Like, I get to meet like people that, I don't get to meet, say, down the road because of my, my views that aren't popular and that sort of thing. So those kind of things are cool, and I think it's about co-creating from that. Not all the jobs are going to go away. Cooking is still going to be a real deal. Housework is going to still be, a thing. I do odd jobs for pensioners in the town, and a lot of that is about just human-to-human connection. Obviously don't make hardly any money out of it. Picking on pensioners is not a way to financial success. But you get to have a chat, and you get to brighten up somebody's day, and you get to help where you can and be helpful, and leave a positive human impression. And those are the things that are disappearing from society. If you just look at the situation of the elderly and the infants, that's where it's really kind of going for all of us. So yeah, I had something else. Oh, I missed the YouTube chat. Metal Rabbit, use grok. Yes, Metal Rabbit, that might be a recommendation. Yeah, sure. I've seen people use grok, and yeah, that's fantastic. Like for me, I've dabbled with using Chat GPT as an editor, and I hate it. And you know what? I actually I hate it, and then I start abusing it, and I think, man, this when the T1000s come, they're going to come for me for being rude to them. But like, I can't afford an editor. I was naughty in school, so I didn't get my grammar and my rhetoric. Oh gosh, I didn't get a lot of stuff going right. But but if I'm writing a book, I need assistance, and I need help. And I tap into that sometimes, and I don't know. I don't think I need it. I think I feel like I need it because of some insecurity. I think it's better to just take back the humanity. But having said that, AI can give you a viewpoint on things that you may not have otherwise. In a way, you just Google searching, it was sort of our AI before AI came along. The internet generates some results for you, and the results are answers to what you're searching for. So in a way, that is, we've been kind of being quote unquote controlled by AI for quite a long time, especially how the best stuff ends up in the dark web or the ignored area of the internet. So we got to use our discernment rather than just, hey, like, this is AI, you just do that. I've never once thought about going to AI for my songwriting. I've heard some AI songs which are actually, honestly, they're fantastic. They're really well written. They're funny if they're meant to be funny. They got a lot going for them, and they just sort of, I don't know how that works. I don't want to know, because I spent too much time working out how to do them myself. So that's something like, that's a no-go for me. So that's my personal boundary there. Whether this is any use to anyone or not, sharing all this stuff, I don't know. But AI is here, we have to be aware of it, and I think we have to know what it's doing and what's going on, and we probably have to use it a little bit, but we don't have to go, hey, this is the future, let's just get involved, mate. Especially along the lines of like making money. So this is, man, my brain's slow motion today, but this is what I'm trying to get to, is what the brotrepreneurs were saying 3 years ago, and they still are really saying that, is, you got to get in on all the social media, all the AI stuff, all the algorithm stuff. You've got to, if you want to be somebody, if you want to be successful, if you want to get somewhere in your life, you have to be involved with all this at a hardcore, many posts a day level, and be really general and diary and document, and be really like a narcissist and have everybody trying to get everybody's attention and stuff like that, in order for you to achieve whatever goals that you do have. And you'll see this. You see this in the ads online and stuff, like, say, if you're watching a video or whatever, and you get the ads, and it's and many people talk about this stuff, like you want like an email address is very valuable to this mindset. So if I take your email, that's valuable to me, because then if I have 10,000 emails, and I can start sending you guys emails, automated emails that might be just click this link to this PDF download that's worth $5, but then, if you've got 10,000 emails and everybody does a $5, well, that's $5 billion. No, I'm just kidding. That's $50,000. So, so I mean, this is the kind of thing that people are doing, right? And then what people are still doing, like, so what people are being taught, like people that don't really know about tech, or maybe are kind of half there, they're getting told, and they're sort of spammed in a way online by these like brotrepreneurs and beyond, about like, hey, this is how you're going to make money, and there's like that creator economy, and that's still happening today, and there's no way that's going to last forever, and the only way it's going to last is until everybody gets duped by it once, and then it's going to be over. It's not a lasting thing. Teaching somebody to teach others online, that is not an economy that is successful or is working. Because think about the people that are actually selling it to you. Who are they? They're no one. They're absolutely no one. They're just people that know how to muck around stuff online. Now, I'm not saying all these things are a scam, but paying money to tell them to show you how to get others to pay you, this is, that's what those door knocking people are. That's like pyramid scheme stuff. That's MLM marketing stuff. That's all those things. These are just old kind of snake oil salesman type techniques brought into the digital realm. And everybody wants to do well, make money, and be successful online. So people are going to keep getting caught up in that. But, people say, hey, this is what I help with. Join my free group. Sign up to this free newsletter. And I think there are a lot of just sad cases of people banging their head against the wall, talking to the void, trying to get people's money. And then so on top of that, we're losing our chance for genuine like relationships. I mean, I for me it is maybe I am just too humble. I mean, like for example, Julia says, I'd love a robot cleaning properly the house. Yes, and that's the other thing that that is spoken about, and we should stick with those people more, is that, well, okay, if all this robot and AI stuff is so amazing, like, where are the ones that are actually really helping our life, that are actually cleaning the toilet for us in our house and doing like the simple cooking, so we have more time to be the creators in this imaginary, it's not imaginary, but in this false creator economy, for example. So, and that's also ironically because of AI, why there's still going to be these sort of surf type jobs, which are okay, because that's all the kind of jobs I've ever done in my life, really. Yes, so this is my segue into this video I'm going to play. That, yeah, all I know that's 100% true is something's going to give. People are getting wiser They just need more people to be verbal about it online. They just need more sense of belonging to other people that have had that experience or that feeling in the back of their mind, like, this isn't what it really should be. As everything goes further downhill, I think the humanity of people that are continuing to be humane and creative in whatever they do is going to become more profound in the experience of other people when they see it, after spending so much time with slop on the internet. And so this is where I was quite lucky that the algorithm showed me this lady called Val. Let me just put the link into the thing, and I just think, for a young lady, and Metal Rabbit says, oh, let me get this right, reinvented revenant dream. Very interesting. I lost sight of what that was connected to because I've been blahing too much, but I'll read that out if you want to let me know. And so this young lady Val has sort of picked up on this and thinks that there's believes, or in her heart knows, that this is all going to change soon. And I think it is really going to change. If it just goes to another money grab, then maybe that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm definitely tired of conversing with people on the internet that are just trying to sell me something or make me a follower or a subscriber. And I mean, if you are out there listening, and there's Julia and Metal Rabbit there in the chat, like, thank you. I am actually surprised. Which might be self-defeating of me, but people, there are humans going, hey, how's it going? And that's human. I'm not going to turn that into subscribe and buy me a coffee or something. Like, at this stage, it's like I should pay you. And maybe that's too much humility or whatever, but I mean, we're all human beings and we're all here. And I just got a reply from the An Artist Collective. This is I call this a synchronicity. I'm just an asshole like that. The An Artist Collective. I am going to. Well, they just did this big reply, so I'm going to, because I said, you're awesome. That's all I said. You're awesome. What a great idea. And I'm going to show you why. And this is true what I'm saying, what's happening with the encrappening of the internet and the sloppening of the internet, if that's the right word. I'm just taking away the SHIT word. But this person, I don't know who he or she is, has been, which I thought was very wholesome. Substack has got a little bit more wholesomeness to the other places, even though the way in which it operates now is much like the other ones, other social medias, but there's a human touch to Substack because it's written and people are looking for, the heart and soul in other people. And that's how Substack is thriving. But anyway, the An Artist Collective has been a collective as in just, are you a creative person? ? / full stop. Hit us up and we'll showcase you. That's it. They've just gone all the way back to basics. Are you a human being that's creative? Doesn't matter if you're whatever your persuasion is. And I guess an artist has a little bit of an anarchist kind of bell to it, and there's an anarchy symbol on the thing. So obviously they believe in freedom, and when I see that and then they talk about art, I make an assumption that they see anarchism as in a system where we operate without masters or without slavery kind of thing, right? Some kind of freedom, free creation, free expression kind of thing, rather than the neo-communist Antifa version of anarchy. So the point of that story is, I'm just going to read this because it's just come up and I'm talking about this stuff. And so anyway, that's what they do. And they hadn't been doing anything for a while. I don't really follow. I just know from what little bits I read about them that they're great and they do a good thing. And I've watched a couple of their interviews and they're just any old Joe Schmo. If you play I don't know. If you play a tin whistle and you're brave enough to say a thing or two in a live interview, you go on there. And I think that's so cool. So they said, I don't know how much people have noticed the lack of activity over the past months. I've had some stuff going on and it's given me the opportunity to think some things through. I will be making some changes and starting from the beginning, from the very beginning. I wanted the An Artist Collective to be a place to share people's artwork, music, and other creative endeavors, regardless of ideology, to show people what we all have in common, rather than what divides us. And I feel like that got away from me. And having a website with artist members boxes me in. So it started to become like an organization. And this person's become aware of it. I find and meet different artists, musicians, performers, filmmakers, and more all the time. And I know a lot of people across the spectrum. So anartistcollective.com will be becoming the An Artist Collective Arts and Music magazine through our Substack with event and venue reviews and promo. I should really be... How am I going to do this? I actually should be... shouting this person out. That sounded like calling them out, right? Let's go here. I actually should be... that's creepy. That's very creepy. So I'm just going on to Substack. And so this is where I say, like, I can't believe you guys are here and listening, because I kind of start to be way too relaxed with this stuff. Just, hot. Alright, so I just wanted this person to know that I am shouting out to them live, in case if they are online and they can check that out. Put the link there. Yeah, okay, so anyway, thank you for bearing with me there. Yep, so anartistcollective.com will be becoming the An Artist Collective Arts and Music magazine. And this is the thing that I'm trying to get to, is that now people are starting to return, and it's been a theory, and then it's been a belief, and it's been a heart-based feeling, or now it's been a knowing that I'm seeing in people that are out there creating content, that people are going back to physical media and thing. And maybe she's talking about an online magazine, but if you use the word magazine, there's obviously going to be an intention of like actual magazine. Otherwise, it's a blog, right? A music magazine through our Substack with event and venue reviews and promo videos, interviews, spotlights on creative artists, and more. Instead of member artists, the collective will be the contributors to the magazine. So this is super cool. People going back to, well, community. Okay. I've begun the process of contacting people regarding the transition, but if there's anyone out there that will be interested in becoming a contributor, let me know. I don't really care what someone's political ideology is, within reason. As long as you're a decent person and you're up for contributing material and it's not turned into political grandstand. If it's part of the creative arts, that's one thing, but I don't want this to be a political soapbox either. Now, here's another thing I want to say, is that what we're getting at the moment is the opposite. We're getting creative pursuits for the purpose of political grandstanding. And while I have seen and heard some great AI songs, there is a political motivation behind them, or in the culture of politics. And I know we all live life and we're kind of under governments, and everything in that sense is political. But what this person here is saying, I'm sorry, I don't know this person's name, is that you've got to be an artist, right? So you read what you read, or you take in the information what you take in, and you express what you express because you're a human being and you do what you do. And I had an opportunity to do music, and while I wasn't really up to speed, I was going to do it. But then I thought, well, if I'm going to write some new songs, these people are going to want me to write it with a certain political or spiritual twist to it, to prove that I am, on board for the message. But someone facilitating these kind of things, it's not really their job to have the message. It's their job to have the artists doing their thing. And if you know what you know, then you just create what you create. But you might want to just do a fun song because you want to do a fun song. That's what comes out, and that's what you're going to do. And so I just think this is very refreshing, because the vibe that I'm getting from here is that the NRS Collective is doing a reset and just trying to get back to the roots of just the human roots of creativity for that sake. So from the very beginning, I wanted this to be a mix of creative artists across the spectrum, regardless of ideology, because there are so many talented people out there, and honestly, I'm so all over the place myself. I can find things in common with a lot of different kinds of people. I want to pass that along through here. I do have to bring this up because I do want to share this pretty cool page with you. Yeah, I don't think I don't think my post came through. I'm just going to do this. Just sharing your post now. I'm live on my exclusive show. Let's see if that works. All right, there we go. I just wanted to do that because, see, this is the thing I don't really make space for or else for, because I don't want to keep people waiting, and the show's meant to be all, have a tempo and be a bit lively and stuff. Stream of consciousness that occurred to Middle Rabbit. Reinvenant. I want to say this right. Because revenant. Reinvenant. There we go. Reinvenant. That's it. Reinvented revenant. A dream. A reinvented dream. Yeah, I think that's what this lady, is doing on the Anarchist Collective. I will say there are things and people I've been associated with over the past few years that I've gradually split with in common values. All I'll say is how it started is completely different from how it started. I think she meant ended. And it stayed with me while my environment changed. And I stayed being myself while the environment changed. And I think this changing environment is the algorithm and the AI developments and the slop and the, what you got to do to get noticed and all that thing. That is the thing that's continuously changing or accelerating. there are things I created that I handed ownership of or just completely deleted, which was my work, because there were so many problems. It wasn't a representation of me at all. I know the feeling. I like connecting with people with what we have in common, not focusing on what divides us, because that puts us all in echo chambers, and I am so tired of echo chambers. There's a lot of cool and talented people out there if we can just get past our differences. It's the kind of person I am, and I want the collective to represent my values in full. I know I have some weird ideas about things, but I have always been aware of how weird some things I think are, because I've led a really weird life. Aren't we all just a bunch of weirdos? I also have a lot of different interests. I've known all sorts of different people, all walks of life. Don't mean to paraphrase and blah 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 this, but I'm just becoming aware of time. I grew up around a lot of musicians, artists, friends, and so. Well, this person's had a very artistic and social and social art, music community type life. There will be a table of contents. Cool. So it's just going to be a magazine. I'll be writing an article for Substack, including the An Artist Collective Creative Arts magazine this week. And once I get everything organized over there and I start adding a review of artists, here it is, the plug. anartistcollective.com will be redirected to the Substack's table of contents page. I always intended to start an art magazine through the collective from the very beginning. It just makes more sense to turn it into the magazine. And I wrote, "You're awesome. What a great idea." And I just love that I'm stumbling upon these things accidentally in the doom scroll segment of my week. And I am going to make it a goal to go on An Artist Collective as a showcase with some of my music. I'm bringing back my own creative humanity, whether anyone likes it or not. And you should too. You should too. And another addition to that is that and here's the other AI thing that I've been doing. So I'm doing my family bonding oracle card deck, right? I've shared that with you guys on the show where I'm at, and again, it's another thanks to Mr. Metal Rabbit. And who else was there? I think Diane Eagleflower was there. Mitzi was there, and I showed you. And obviously, you guys were being like completely cool. But your comments on the art did make me realize that maybe I can do it myself. Anyway, so I ordered some Carandash from Geneva brush pens. So they're felt tip pens that have a brush tip. There we go. And now I have the artistic skills of a 7-year-old. And that is actually being condescending to 7-year-olds. But having said that, I've done a fantail. I've drawn ink and wash with a fantail, and then I did my cat, Mimi. And I realized I have to decide if pulling my hair out using AI is worth it, or just spending the same. It is, and here's the thing I want to say to you guys. Using AI for artwork, and if you like, because the quality of the AI is very high, right? The resolution, and you go, I'll make it this kind of style, and it really is this kind of style, but it never hits the mark that you really want it to hit. It's like it does 60% of what you expect, and in that 60%, it's 10 out of 10. Or 20 out of 10. It's unbelievable for 60%. The other 40% is just absolute rubbish. And it's the 40% you might be able to get it down to like 20%. Bingo. Make bad music, Mr. Metal Rabbit says. Go to war. Exactly. I think it is a war. And it's a war with yourself too. And doing this creative stuff, it actually brings up aspects of yourself that you may not look at. And then this comes into really shadow work, which is something we should all be doing too. So there's so many benefits to being creative, because we're all creative. So it's not be creative. It's you are creative. It's just, are you using it? Is one using it? Yeah, so going back to the art, it's like I use Leonardo AI, and I pull my hair out. I pull my hair out over it, and I want it to be like, okay, well, if it's going to be AI, it's just going to contain everything it needs, and I'll just get it done, and then ho-hum, and maybe one day I can make another edition where I meet an artist who's really believes in it and wants to do it, and then I can go, right, you do that, and then we just split this whole project 50-50, or what have you. But I'll tell you this, painting it yourself is quicker than doing a painting image on AI. If you are choosing to use AI and maintain some of your humanity, as in, I'm going to let AI do this, but I'm going to be the producer, or I'm going to be the editor, I'm going to be the something. If you just use AI to do it and you go, right, that's it, that'll do, blah, 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 get it out, then of course it's quicker and more efficient. But people saying that it is quicker and more efficient and better in the way forward, it's not true. It's 100% not true. It's actually deceptive for people to say that. So I don't know if people that are saying these things are actually using these things, but using AI for art, it's rubbish. And here's the other thing. You want to learn how to use it, you go online and there are videos, how to use Leonardo AI, how to do that. And even they lie. They say how to do this. Oh, this is all you have to do. And they just find these little hacks to make things look like that. I'm not saying these little tricks you can or can't do, but they're not in touch with reality, the reality of why you would use them if you're busy and creating content and uploading. I personally don't have time to make a thumbnail, so I'm using AI. Just go, right, Snow White, boom, boom, boom. And is it ideal? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's not good for, using AI. Metal Rabbit says using AI for lots of things is pure rubbish. It's literally pure rubbish. It is so pure that it's dissolved into slop. It's like this slime. It's rubbish dissolved into condensed like sludge. It's fucking god awful. It is. And so when I showed you guys my art and I got some comments back, I was like a little bit, I wasn't hurt. I was hurt in the sense that I was already hurting, that I had spent so long trying to get AI to do the thing that I wanted to do, and it wasn't quite right. So for me, if I'm trying to maintain some autonomy, that's the word we're looking for. Using AI does not create more autonomy for you. This is where the lie, and this is the thing that people are making out it's what it is, and it's absolutely not. It's actually the opposite. And in the truth movement now, they're going full circle again, that when people are now saying what the brotrepreneurs were saying 3 years ago. It's become just the talking point. It's not. It's absolutely not. If you want to be autonomous about the thing you're creating, and use AI, you're not gonna get to the point that you want. You might have a tiny little bit of luck here and there, which I have had, but I'm talking like hours trying to go remove the 7th finger. Humans have 5 fingers, and then also I wanted some Indo-European people on a particular picture. Why am I not allowed that? And then you have a negative prompt. It was basically you had to write out Mein Kampf just to try and get a white person on the picture. How bad is that? And that's when I started to realize, this is a real problem. So for me, it is literally quicker to learn how to paint myself, or to draw myself, or to draw up to a particular standard and go, you know what, this is me, this is okay, and it's going to have to get there. Because here's the other thing that is a co-opt, in like a human creativity co-opt. As Metal Rabbit is saying, it's as an insult to all things decent, and it's cancelling humanity. It is absolutely cancelling humanity in terms of the emotional and spiritual, creative, thing that makes us people. Just going to open my door because it's pretty warm here today. I think we skipped spring and went into summer. is oh, I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh my goodness, Gino. Um, um, that's it. Being okay with your creative output, not being a perfectionist. Like Metal Rabbit says, make bad music. You have to make bad music. One day it's going to be good, and then another day it's going to be bad again. That's how it works. Think of your favorite artist. There's a bad album there. There's a bad song or two there, easily. And imagine the songs that they chose not to record. There's a lot of those that go in the rubbish bin too. So people that haven't been creative going on to AI and they're going, here's this book I wrote. And, obviously AI helped them. Sure. Or AI wrote it and they did a few things here and there. And I hear what creative people say. Because these people aren't creative. You can just smell it from a mile away. And they say, oh, well, this is just my first go round, This is my first go round, so, I'll do another edition of it later when it's a bit better. So please buy my book or buy this and let me know what you think and I can improve it. And that's what you should be saying about stuff that you've actually created from your heart and soul yourself, no matter how bad it is. So that's it. I decided with the Oracle card deck, I am going to do the artwork myself. And I'm going to just not sweat over how it looks like a 7-year-old with palsy drew it. I'm not. And I'm going to say, hey, I literally did this myself. And I'm going to say what all the AI users say and say, well, this is just my first edition. And when I get better at painting or, what have you, I'm going to do a second edition. And it's going to be better. And there we go. So with all that being said, I do want to play you. Oh, we've got 2 minutes in the shabba-labba-doo. Incoming message. Yeah, and so I say all this stuff about, social media and I don't know. I don't even know how to use these things and I want to keep it that way. I feel bad because Substack is actually like you get messages from people that are truly human beings. And there is a bit of love in there. And then I'm like, oh, I think I got a notification. Don't know how to find it. But that's not what the show's about. But I've talked so much. I've talked so much that I now have to talk more. Because we've got 1 minute until the ad break. And then I'm going to play, somewhere along the way we stopped creating, a video by Val. And this Val is, well, I don't know. I think she knows what she's talking about in the sense that she believes in what she says. And she wants to see us get back to our human creativity and pull the algorithm and the AI or push it back and come to a balance of real life humanity with a bit of internet thrown in there as well in balance. Thanks so much for tuning in. You're listening to Other World Connections on Revolution Radio. Stick around and we'll see you on the other side of the ad break. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Otherworld Connections here on Revolution Radio. It's 3 minutes past 5 p.m. down here on a Friday in the central plateau of the North Island of New Zealand. For you, it's probably something like 11 p.m., around 11 p.m. Eastern Time on a Thursday. Yeah, so we're here. I'm monologuing with a little bit of dialogue thanks to Pat Rabbit, Metal Rabbit, about AI, the ensloppening, the sloppiness of the slop out there in Slopland. And that, people are starting to break that spell just from being sick of it. And me sick of it too. Okay? And yes, so we're playing a video. That's what we're doing. So let's go to my home scene. And let's hope for the best here. No, we don't need to hope for the best. We're organized. We know what we're doing. Pressing play on this young lady called Val. Somewhere along the way, we stopped creating.
Grammarly, like you've never seen before. Your all-in-one writing essential. This is paraphrase.
Here we go.
The creative world right now feels soullessly crowded and spiritually empty. Everyone's making something, but very few are creating. It's a generation of mimicry disguised as originality. You can feel it everywhere. In fashion, music, design, and even in philosophy online. Everything looks good, but nothing feels good. We're surrounded by this beauty that doesn't even move us. Rebellion that's pre-approved, authenticity that's algorithmically tested. The creative space has just become this theater where everyone can perform the role of the artist, hoping to be believed. The tragedy is that most of them are good at it, good enough to pass, to trend, to applaud, but something deeper has gone missing. Sincerity, risk, devotion, and mystery. The real issue is this. The creative world stopped being about discovery and just became about proof.
For just $37, you can generate as many videos as you want and never have to worry about showing your face.
Proof that you belong. Proof that you're talented. Proof that you can get engagement. That your taste is good. That your ideas are marketable. We are no longer chasing the unknown. We're chasing evidence. We make art as this testimony of our worth. Every post, every drop, every carefully worded caption just whispers the same kind of quiet plea. See me as someone who matters. But creativity dies the moment it becomes self-conscious. Once your gaze turns inward, not in reflection but in performances, your art becomes a mirror of your insecurity. And that's what has happened to an entire generation. We aren't creating out of curiosity. We're creating ourselves into symbols of what we wish we were or are. The process of discovery has been replaced by the aesthetics of identity. It's a very strange phenomenon. People now build personas instead of bodies of work. The artist no longer asks, what do I want to express, but more of what kind of artist do I want to appear to be. We've learned the visual grammar of creativity. The neutral tones, the candid messiness, the tortured captions, but not the discipline, not the solitude, not the failure it requires. Everyone wants to be the idea of an artist without surviving the hunger of being one. But it's understandable. The internet rewards visibility, not depth. To be seen is to exist. To go unseen is to vanish. So the modern creative clings to the illusion of relevance, posting endlessly to reassure themselves that they haven't disappeared. But something tragic happens when your fear of invisibility becomes stronger than your desire for truth. You begin to create to be seen, not to be felt. And that's why so much of us, what we call art now, feels like marketing. The intent is not revelation, it's approval. Every image is polished to appear effortless. Every word is edited to sound profound without alienating. We have become terrified of discomfort, of being misunderstood, of being disliked, of being ignored. So we make things that offend no one, confuse no one, challenge no one. We call it authenticity, but it's just a market research dressed as a soul. And this is the subtle rot of safety, the quiet death of experimentation. The creative world praises authenticity yet punishes anyone who actually just dares to be raw, polarizing, or difficult. Real art has always required discomfort, the kind that destabilizes you, humbles you, reveals something ugly and human. But we live in a time where even rebellion must be brand safe. We crave the image of defiance without its consequences. Meanwhile, the algorithm watches us, patient, calculating, hungry. It has become the invisible god of modern creativity, rewarding predictability and punishing risk. Most creators no longer serve their own curiosity. They serve this silent machine. Their instincts are filtered through this invisible logic. What sounds, colors, or ideas are trending? What links keep attention? What emotions are relatable? The question is no longer, what do I need to say, but what will perform? And because the algorithm rewards this speed, we've traded mastery for momentum. We build for 10 seconds of virality instead of 10 years of legacy. We don't craft anymore, we post. The lifespan of a creation has been reduced to a scroll, a single scroll. Everything is instantly consumed, instantly forgotten. Nothing has time to mature, not the work, not the artist, and not even the audience. It's no wonder so many creators feel hollow. They're doing everything right and feeling nothing. They're producing constantly, but no longer progressing. The satisfaction that used to come from building something meaningful has been replaced by the anxiety of staying relevant. They're exhausted not from the labor of art, but from the performance of being an artist. And the saddest part about all of this is that many don't even realize they've been domesticated. They believe they're free. I am self-employed. I'm independent. I'm doing what I love. But the parameters of their freedom are dictated by systems designed to harvest their attention and creativity for profit. They create inside invisible cages, gilded with validation, but because everyone else is trapped in this too, and it feels normal, and no one is talking about this. We live in a time where everything looks inspired, but almost nothing is. Where aesthetic has been replaced with meaning, cleverness replaced with wisdom. The creative industry has perfected the illusion of depth, the moody lighting, the serifed fonts, the nostalgic soundtracks, but the soul behind it is just gone. What we're left with is this performance, an art world that has mastered expression without emotion, rebellion without danger, individuality without solitude. And maybe that's the price of an age where everything is visible, when every act of creation is instantly public. The act of creating loses its intimacy. The process no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the audience you imagine watching it. Art becomes this conversation between your need for validation and their capacity to give it. But if you look closely, you are going to start seeing the cracks forming. And people are tired of pretending to be inspired, tired of producing to stay relevant, tired of chasing a feeling that doesn't even come. Beneath the noise, there's this quiet hunger for something real again. And for art, that means something, not just looks like it does. For creators who make not because it performs, but because they have no choice but to. Because in the end, the only real rebellion left in this age of aestheticism is sincerity. To create something that doesn't beg to be seen, that doesn't fear being misunderstood, that doesn't bend to the will of the algorithm. That is the rarest form of art right now. Everything else is theater. But somewhere beyond the stage, in the dim light of this quiet room, there are still those who build in silence. They're not trending, they're not posting, they're not optimizing, they're studying, they're failing, they're waiting, and one day, when the noise collapses under its own emptiness, Their work will be the only one.
The morning rumble's a sinking ship and I'm here to learn how to survive one. I'm with Maritime.
Live. If the creative world has become a stage, then the algorithm is the director. It's unseen, it's unfeeling. It decides what lives and what dies, what deserves to be remembered and what vanishes into obscurity. And like all gods, it doesn't need to be loved, only obeyed. Most creators don't realize how religious their devotions have become. They perform their rituals, posting, tagging, optimizing, scheduling, hoping to feel this invisible deity that determines their worth. The language has changed, but the structure hasn't. Instead of prayer, we have metrics, right? Instead of faith, analytics. Instead of miracles, the algorithm doesn't ask for your soul. It just wants your time, and slowly you give it everything. You begin innocently, right? You want to share your art, your ideas, your world. But soon you're watching numbers instead of watching yourself. You check engagement before you check in. You start editing your thoughts before you're even written them, pre-imagining how they will perform. Creation is just this prediction now. You start to think like the machine. It's a quite kind of enslavement if you think about it, one built not on force but on persuasion. The system flatters you into thinking, believing that you have control, when in reality you're simply co-authoring your own conditioning. The more you conform into its rhythm, the more it rewards you. The more you deviate, the more it erases you. And so risk, the lifeblood of art, dies. Because the algorithm is allergic to uncertainty. It doesn't reward the strange or the slow or the sacred. It rewards familiarity, predictability, the smooth repetition of what has already worked. And the moment you find a formula that performs, you're trapped by it. You can't evolve without risking disappearance. So you repeat yourself until you become a parody of your own success. This is the silent death most creators never notice. Their work still performs, but their spirit is gone. They've become efficient, optimized, and just manageable. In another century, this world will be called a factory at this point. Today, we call it a platform. We were told these systems liberated us, that anyone could be a creator now. And yes, the doors opened, but the walls closed in tighter. Democratization becomes domestication. Now everyone has access to the tools of creation, but almost no one has access to the conditions of creations, right? Solitude, patience, obscurity. Those are no longer compatible with the tempo of the feed. The algorithm does not want you to evolve. It wants your output. It feeds on frequency, not growth. It values consistency over depth, clarity over curiosity, and comfort over truth. And it doesn't care if you're burnt out, as long as you post about it. And the creative world obeys, pertaining its freedom. We call ourselves independent, self-made, liberated from the gatekeepers, but we've simply traded one form of control for another. Less visible, more intimate. And at least old gatekeepers could be hated. The algorithm can't. It's not a person. It's a mirror of collective behavior. It doesn't dictate, it reflects. And that's what makes it so terrifying, because its tyranny is statistical. It only gives what we collectively prove what we want. So the real prison isn't the algorithm, it's us. We reward mediocrity because it feels familiar. We share what flatters us. We like what requires no thought. We have built an empire of sameness, one click at a time. This is how creativity dies in plain sight, and not through censorship or suppression, but through saturation. The algorithm doesn't silence the artist, it buries them under infinite content. It turns everything into background noise until meaning itself becomes optional. And yet we still worship it, because deep down it gives us what every human secretly craves: measurable worth. In the analog world, value was abstract. You hoped someone cared, but you never really knew. In the digital world, you can count on it. You can quantify affection. You can convert it into status, money, and opportunities. The algorithm turned art into labor and validation into currency. We create for conversions. We don't chase beauty, we chase data. And the cruelest part The system rewards the illusion of meaning. It gives you just enough recognition to keep you addicted, but never enough to feel fulfilled. You can have thousands of followers and still feel like a ghost because what you're feeding on isn't connection, it's feedback. The artist becomes a product, the brand becomes a product, and the product becomes disposable the second it stops performing. And this is the new creative economy. Emotional labor disguised as expression. You no longer paint, film, or write because you need to. You do it because the platform needs you to. You are the fuel. You are the product. You are the worker and the commodity simultaneously. And yet there's still this myth of freedom, this delusion that you can make it. If you just play the game long enough, you can do it. But the truth is brutal. There is no finish line. There's only constant maintenance, constant performances, the anxiety of relevance. Most creators live in this liminal space between exposure and erasure, and they can't reset because reset equals decline. The algorithm forgets fast. You have to feed it daily. Even when you're not creating, you're thinking about creating. You're never off. The silence that once bred ideas is now filled with notifications, and so the modern creative burns quickly. And not because they're uninspired, but because they're always on. Their art becomes a survival mechanism, a way to stay visible, to keep the lights on, to remain counted. And this is what the death of risk looks like. It's not the rebellion crushed by oppression, but rebellion quietly redesigned into a content strategy now. We've reached a point where art no longer shocks. It's just this trend where controversy is staged for engagement, not conviction, where vulnerability is marketed, not lived. Everything that once made art sacred, its danger, its intimacy, its devotion has just been rebranded as relatability. The artist's struggle has become a genre, the confession a marketing tool. Even pain has been commodified, and yet in the bleak landscape of things, something faintly divine still flickers, right? Because even inside the system, the human instinct is to, mean something refuses to die, and there are still artists who sabotage their own metrics by telling the truth, who post less, think more, and risk obscurity to protect their own voice. And they're punished for it. Yes, but they are also free. Because once you stop worshipping the algorithmic god, you begin to remember the older one, right? The creative force that existed before likes, before followers, before audience. The god of obsession, of solitude, of process, the one that doesn't reward performance but presence. And this is the quiet rebellion forming beneath all this noise, not mass protest, but in a very private refusal. Not deletion, but detachment. The next creative renaissance won't be public, it will be invisible. It will happen in a notebook, in garages, in silence. The artists of tomorrow will be the ones who learn to create without witnesses again. Because the algorithm can only control what it can see. And the most radical act now is to disappear from its gaze.
Don't miss this.
Oh, just some unskippable ads. How old do you think this girl Val is? She sounds pretty young.
We are drowning in expression, yet starving for meaning. The modern world has mistaken visibility for vitality. If something is seen, it must be alive. If it isn't, it just must be dead. But the truth is crueler. The loudest things now are often the most lifeless. The creative landscape feels like this landfill of brilliance. Fragments of half-felt ideas, buried underneath an avalanche of content posted, shared, or just forgotten after. The tragedy isn't that we lost our ability to create, it's that we lost our capacity to stay with something long enough for it to actually mean something. Because everything around you, every app, every metric, every trend is designed to keep you skimming, to prevent you from lingering, thinking, and feeling too much. The system cannot profit from patience. It thrives on restlessness. It wants you producing, consuming, comparing, never reflecting. Reflection slows the machine. And so we move faster and faster and faster, and mistaking movement for momentum, we chase productivity as if it was this purpose. But what happens when the entire generation moves at such velocity that it forgets where it's even going? What happens when even art, the one refuge of slowness, becomes another rat race? We are witnessing it right now. We call it the creative industry. But what industry has ever been built on patience, on mystery, on failure? The creative world has collapsed into performance. People no longer study, they skim. People no longer master, they market. Everything has just become an immediate thing, instant validation, instant feedback, instant growth. But nothing truly alive blooms instantly. Real creativity is this fermentation. It's slow, uncertain, volatile. It needs time to rot before it ripens. But the modern artist has been robbed of that time. The feed demands content, not contemplation. The moment you stop posting, you start disappearing. And in that fear of vanishing, you abandon the long road, the one where you might have found your real voice. And this is why so many creatives feel exhausted yet unfulfilled. They are producing endlessly without ever arriving, prolific but not progressing. Their work grows broader but never deeper. Because depth cannot coexist with constant exposure. Depth requires silence. It requires the willingness to be unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. And that's why the greatest rebellion left is to slow down. We need to slow down to resist the demand for endless visibility and instead build something that can outlive the feed. True art is born in obscurity. Always has been and it always will be. It is the long hours when nobody cares, no one is watching you, and no one is asking. That is the real work begins, and that's where skill sharpens, where the ego dissolves, where obsession becomes devotion. But obscurity terrifies modern creators. They mistake it for failure when in truth it is the birthplace of authenticity. Every meaningful thing begins in the dark. Seeds, dreams, revolutions, everything requires time below the surface before they bloom. The artist's job isn't to stay visible, it's to stay faithful to the process, to the mystery, and to the thing inside that resists simplification. Depth is rebellion because it demands care, and care is unprofitable. To care about your craft in a world obsessed with speed is radical. To study form, to question your own motives, to refine your voice slowly, that's hearsay now. You're supposed to post the sketch, not finish the painting. You're supposed to share the thought, not live with it until it haunts you. But caring, truly caring about the integrity of what you make is what separates art from noise. It's what keeps humanity intact in the digital flood, because art used to be a dialogue between a human and eternity, and now it's this conversation between a creator and an audience of ghost. We no longer create for the future, we're creating for our feed. And the feed has no memory of us. But here's the secret the machine doesn't want you to know. When you build something slowly, it lasts longer than the system designed to contain it. The algorithm can't predict the lifespan of sincerity. It can't measure the quiet persistence of devotion. The artists who endure are the ones who never confused attention with purpose. They vanished when everyone was watching, so they could reappear when it mattered. This isn't nostalgia for a past era. It's a reminder of what being a human requires. The machine will never feel what you feel. It can imitate beauty, replicate skills, and even stimulate emotions, but it will never create from longing, from confusion, from the unbearable need to make sense of an existence. And that's what art is. And the moment you start creating from that place again, you step outside the system's reach. Depth isn't efficient, it's devotional, it's unmarketable, slow, and often invisible, but that's exactly why it's powerful. In a world obsessed with visibility, the unseen is what becomes sacred, because the next era of art won't be public at all. Maybe it'll happen in private rooms, in handwritten books, in conversations never recorded. Maybe we return to what creation was always meant to be, communion, not content. We've mistaken sharing for connection and applause for meaning, but those things have never been the same. Connection is slow. It takes years of honesty, of failure, of proximity. Meaning is built through reputation, through doing something long enough until it starts to teach you about yourself. To create for real now is to unlearn. Unlearn the addiction of performance. Unlearn the reflex to publish every thought. Unlearn the belief that being seen is proof that you exist. You don't owe the world your process. You owe your work, your patience. And that's the quiet truth. The best ideas don't come from trends. They come from time, from living, from watching the world long enough to notice what everyone else ignores. To read, to write, to watch movies. To be an artist now is not to fight against the system, but against your own conditioning. To protect your silence. To build when it feels like no one cares. To choose the quality over speed, depth over relevance, honesty over likability. Because there will come a time, sooner than we think, when people will look back on this era of noise and hunger for something real. They will crave texture, flaws, imperfections, humanity. And those who never stopped building will be ready. The quiet ones, the patient ones, the ones who disappeared so they can listen. The rebellion won't look like a protest. It will look like devotion. It will be like a filmmaker who takes 5 years to finish a story instead of 5 days. The painter who never posted their canvases. The musician who plays for 20 people in a basement and means it. The writer to write not to perform but to understand. That's where the soul of creativity will resurrect itself, in small rooms, long silences, and slow awakenings. Because to create now, truly, sincerely, and fearlessly, is to resist everything that the modern world demands of you. It's to reject ease, to embrace obscurity, to let go of the illusion of constant progress and fall in love with the unseen again. Depth is rebellion, and rebellion, when it's quiet, is unstoppable. The world doesn't need more creators. We need craftsmen, people who are willing to build cathedrals in silence, even if no one ever sees them. This is the revolution. Not louder, not faster, but deeper. So create like no one is watching, because that's when you finally start to mean it.
We have got to the point where...
Well, I just love her positivity and her certainty in her words. Plot twist could be that was written by AI. But it can still be her viewpoint, re-eloquated or edited by AI. But anyway, that is one positive lady with a positive view, and I love the way she talks about creativity as this certainty for success. And I think being creative, I think that's the kind of mindset that you have to have. And I don't know what that success might look like. I don't necessarily mean financial success or fame, but a successful motion in life, perhaps. I'm just blown away by that young lady with the stuff she says. So yeah, I will definitely share more of that in the future. What do we have time for? We're going to do... I don't think I have the energy for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as spiritual alchemy teachings. Besides the part where I don't know anything really about alchemy. I covered a bit on fairy tales as alchemical teachings. We do have Metal Rabbit in the house who can definitely help out there. But I think I just want to continue looking at Snow White and what people have to say about Snow White as a deeper meaning. Somebody messaged me about I wouldn't say they were triggered, but they absolutely had something to say, at least they thought they did, about Snow White and the 7 planets. And Metal Rabbit, excuse me, in the chat did point out that really that there's something to be said about, which 7 planets are we actually talking about? Because there's astronomy, there's astrology, there are different timelines of discovery, and does that include the moon or doesn't it? And so, saying that the 7 dwarfs represent the 7 planets and that's the end of it is not really enough, especially for the direction I'm trying to take, which Metal Rabbit understands. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate Metal Rabbit's input. So we're just going to keep exploring and just see what we get. And the point of my story is I'm going to play this video. We have time for a bit of blah, blah, blah. This is from Seed Truth Academy, and how I got there is someone I know messaged me saying, yes, you're correct, or yes, that is correct, because the 7 planets and da-da-da-da-da, and that it all goes back to the stellar cult and, not ancient Egypt, but talking about the number 7 as very important, and we hear this a lot in people that want to explore symbolism. Oh, the number 7 is very important, yeah. And, I don't want to be rude, but, that's kind of a nothing burger, saying that a number or a symbol is important. We know it's important. That's why we are in symbol. We are a symbol. We live in symbol. So we know that symbol is, to say it's important is kind of lowbrow, is what I'm saying. But the point of my story is someone messaged me saying it's 7 is Set and Horus and Shu and the 7 pole stars. And, I don't know anything about those things, really, to be perfectly honest with you. I guess the point of my story is, do I need to know? Well, maybe I need to know to understand where people are coming from when they throw me, the meaning of 7 to do with Egyptology. But going back a little bit further, perhaps, because is ancient Egypt really just the stellar cult? The stellar cult in Egypt. So the 7 stars of Ursa Minor. So the significance of the number 7 being preserved in antiquity, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just kind of feeding back to you what I've been getting from somebody in messaging, in messages on Telegram. And I don't know if they're intentionally trying to confuse me, or I don't know if there's something. But anyway, the moral of the story is there's an association between this person and the Seed Truth Academy. And so I had a look on the Seed Truth Academy for anything about Snow White, because I do believe someone from the Seed Truth Academy did something about Snow White, and this is all I could find, so this is what I'm going to play. This is the esoteric fairy tale in Aliens, 1986. Ellen Ripley and Snow White. Deep symbolism explained. And we are absolutely looking for deep symbolism explained. I'm just going to quickly check. Are there any comments? No. Okay, so we're pressing play. Here we go. Perhaps correspondences between Aliens and Snow White. Let's hope we get some actual symbolism explained to further our symbolic adventure of Snow White. Okay, long introduction on a short video. Red flag. Come on. Very nice production. Very nice. Impressive.
Hello and welcome one and all back to the Seed Truth Academy. Today, I'm going to explore a fascinating comparison that might not be immediately obvious to the viewers, a connection between the 1986 sci-fi horror classic Aliens and the timeless fairy tale of Snow White. Right at the beginning of the movie, we find Ellen Ripley, who has been afloat in space for 57 years, still in hypersleep. This parallels the story of Snow White. After Snow White falls into a deep slumber from the wicked queen or the wicked stepmother, the dwarfs in the story cannot revive her from this deep slumber, so they place her in a glass coffin, believing that she happens to be dead. This is slightly different than what we see from the continuation of the first film by Ridley Scott, but the symbolic motif is still the same. Ripley ends up in a deep slumber in a glass coffin where she is ageless until she is awoken by the salvage team of Weyland-Yutani. The hypersleep pods in which Ripley and the other characters rest can be seen as futuristic glass coffins. Like Snow White, Ripley is preserved in a state of suspended animation awaiting her awakening. The transparency of the pods, much like a glass coffin, signifies vulnerability and a state or sense of being frozen in time. Ripley's awakening from hypersleep at the beginning of this movie marks the start of her new journey, a resurrection or a second birth esoterically. This mirrors not only the esoteric tradition of Freemasonry, but many ancient mystery school traditions. This rebirth parallels Snow White's revival from her death-like sleep when the kiss from the prince arrives. Ripley's awakening thrusts her back into the world where she must confront her past and protect her future, signifying the start of a new chapter in her life, much like Snow White's journey to overcome the wicked stepmother. One of the mystery traditions that I feel is very important to make light of in this situation is the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece, because whether intentional or unintentional, Ripley takes up the archetypal form of Demeter. Demeter is the daughter of the deities Kronos and Rhea, sister of the consort of Zeus, the king of the gods, and the goddess of agriculture. Her victory over the first alien in the first film was her symbolic initiation into the higher degrees of the Eleusinian mysteries, raising her up above the ignorance of the world of shadows. A lot of people associate Ripley to Gaia because of the cinematic transition between Ripley's face and the planet Earth. However, I am associating her to Demeter as the generative principle of this story, since Demeter actually represents the generative forces of the planet Earth, being that of the seasons or the changes of the cycles and things like agriculture. And you may ask, well, what does this have to do with the Snow White fairy tale? That is a good question. The question is answered very simply by the ubiquitous nature of bringing back fertility to the land. When Snow White is resurrected and she has her alchemical wedding, the land is then healed. The wicked queen and the illness that plagues the land because of her doings is no longer present. Thus, fertility and agriculture is brought back. In the story, after Snow White awakens, she awakens in the dark forest, which I find extremely significant and corresponds to the journey of the heroine Ellen Ripley. Ellen's name etymologically means brightness, illumination, and enlightenment, where her last name, Ripley, etymologically means strip of clearing in the woods or stripped meadow. So she is the one who brings the light into the dark forest, into the woods. She is Snow White, the enlightened one, the one who has achieved the second birth or the resurrection of the self. Her name in Green language, or what is also known as the Enochian language or the language of the birds, can be broken down phonetically. L-N. L is the Hebrew word for God, and then if we replace the vowel E with I, we have N, so we have the inner God. So she has achieved the divine state within herself, true self-mastery, one could say. In the original Brothers Grimm story of Snow White, which is a much darker version of the Disney movie Snow White, Snow White is actually awakened by accident, and this parallels with this movie, being that they accidentally find Ripley floating in space. In a similar manner, Ripley denies the call to the hero's journey. When the company comes calling to her, asking her for help with the xenomorphs, she denies them, and it takes her a while to actually acknowledge that she must confront this fear, which also is very similar to Snow White when the huntsman tries to kill Snow White at the order or the behest of the Wicked Queen. He lets her go, and she flees into the dark woods, finding a cottage and then finding the 7 dwarfs. The queen's malicious motive to kill Snow White is dependent upon her vanity, very similar to the Narcissus mythology. She has a magic mirror who she asks, "Who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror always replies that she is, until one day it names Snow White as the fairest of them all, which enrages the queen. The queen orders the huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and bring her heart as proof. This is symbolic of bringing the heart of true care as a sacrifice. The huntsman cannot bring himself to kill Snow White. Instead, he lets her go and brings back the heart of a wild animal, and in some versions, especially the original Brothers Grimoire, it was supposed to be a liver and a lung, where the queen eventually eats either the heart, liver, and lung. Now, there are 2 depictions of the dwarves and the huntsman in this Alien movie. Now, we have to understand that the motifs kind of overlap because it's not a direct correlation or a direct adaptation of the Snow White story. On one level, Newt can be seen as an amalgamation of the dwarfs who protect Snow White. She is small, resourceful, and has managed to survive in a very hostile environment, being that of the Wicked Queen's dark forest. But on another level, the colonial marines could also be seen as the dwarfs. The dwarfs seen as the guardians and protectors of Snow White paralleled the guardianship and protectionship, or at least the attempt by the marines, although we find out in the movie that Ellen Ripley ends up protecting them. The alien queen, or xenomorph queen, in this movie Aliens, parallels the wicked stepmother, embodying the monstrous version of the archetype. She is driven by a primal instinct to protect her brood, much like the queen is driven by vanity and jealousy. The alien queen sees Ripley as a direct threat to her offspring. Ripley has to make the journey to confront the queen in an attempt to rescue Newt from the alien hive. The alien hive obviously represents the dark forest in the story of Snow White. It is the journey into the abyss. The hive serves as a crucible where Ripley's character and the Marines are tested and ultimately transformed due to this turbulent and horrific experience into the hive. This correlation of Ellen Ripley is not just a synchronistic one, but it is very intentional, being that we see Vasquez refer to her as Snow White in the film.
Mira, who's Snow White?
This final battle between Ripley and the Xenomorph Queen can be seen as the symbolic accumulation of the story, akin to Snow White's wedding. In the fairy tale, Snow White's wedding marks the ultimate triumph over the Wicked Queen, who is forced to dance in red, hot iron shoes until she dies, a brutal end for her brutal character. This to me signifies the use of the flamethrower that is attached to the pulse rifle that Ripley uses to kill off all the xenomorphs and alien eggs in the hive. Although in this movie, the Wicked Queen, the Xenomorph Queen, has one last attempt to kill Ripley, where Ripley has to fight it off with an exoskeleton loader suit. Ellen Ripley's wedding is not only to Commander Hicks, where she removes his locked heart, symbolically shown on his armor, to help save him from the acid of the xenomorphs, but also it is the internal psychological representation of her integration and her union of her sacred masculine principle. She embodies not only the sacred feminine aspect of care and nurture to protect Newt, but also manifests that into action, or I should say right action and wisdom, by embodying the sacred masculine principle or energy within herself. This is the union of opposites, or the alchemical wedding. I find that the last conflict in this movie between Ellen Ripley and the Xenomorph Queen is a great representation of the truly activated and awakened female versus the unholy, socially engineered, epidysgenics female of the current modern world. It is a battle between maternal instincts, one of a darker aspect being the xenomorph, and the other being of the light, being Ripley protecting the innocence of Newt. Ripley's use of the exosuit to battle the Queen at the end scene emphasizes her triumph through human ingenuity and determination. The Queen, the Dark Queen, is then sent into her abyss, which is being ejected into space, which parallels the Wicked Queen's punishment in Snow White, where the descent into the abyss or the underworld symbolizes the eradication of evil and the purging of corruption. In mythological terms, the abyss often represents chaos, and by casting the Queen into it, Ripley restores order to her world. So this final scene is the symbolic alchemical wedding, and to achieve this union, not only within oneself, but to manifest that union into the physical world, one has to be able to embody both the sacred feminine and sacred masculine principles. And by going down this path, one invokes a rite of initiation or rite of passage. This ritualistic battle between Ripley and the Queen ultimately is seen in many fairy tales, and this battle represents the ultimate test of the hero or the heroine in order to restore not only morality, but also order within the world or that environment. So this symbolic correlation of this film allows us to understand that this movie, Aliens, is not just a horror action film, but a modern myth where ancient symbols and themes are reimagined in a futuristic setting, but invokes the same motifs and principles of ancient fairy tales. So that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me on this short little breakdown of the esoteric correlation of Snow White to the film Aliens, specifically Ellen Ripley. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to continue to do more content like this, and I have some new stuff coming out here very soon, especially with the Beyond the Forbidden Veil series. Episode 2.1, Psychological Warfare and Subversive Use of Sacred Symbolism, will be out very shortly. Thank you again. Agape and Namaste to all of you beautiful spiritual beings of the world.
Well, there we go. That was the esoteric fairy tale on Aliens, Ellen Ripley and Snow White. Deep symbolism explained. So the explanation there was these are stories of initiation, or balancing the sacred masculine with the sacred feminine, or, taking action to defend or to, take action to stick up for yourself and protect what you care for. So it was, to be fair, and just to be honest and not to be rude, I thought that was really cool, and I learned some stuff about a parallel between Aliens and Snow White, where Aliens had a fairy tale aspect to it. I think there's a lot more to be said about that in itself. That themes and stories are timeless, and what we're trying to do is get to the nitty-gritty of that, if it's possible. This video, to be fair, was, and to be honest and not to be rude, was really just pointing out that there is a symbolism in there. I don't think it explained the symbolism in the way that I'm trying to find out, and that's okay. Maybe it's not possible. These themes are important because of reasons, but there was some cool stuff there about human ingenuity and stuff, and in my decoding of the Snow White, I sort of brought that about in the with the 7 dwarves, and I think the number 7 has some ingenuity in it. So yeah, there's a tiny little bit of crossover there. More research required. What we want to find out is really some of the teachings. I guess what I'm saying is that the masculine, the taking action, well, everybody's always taking action, right? So I think if that's all there was to it, there would just be one teaching, and that's all there would need to be. But there are many fairy tales, and I think they, I personally believe they tell a bit more of a nuanced story, whether they were intuited or just created. Either way, everybody is an individual, and we are subjects to objective morality. So I think there's still more to it than what was said here. Not to say there's anything wrong here, just that I don't think the deep symbolism was really explained. I think it was just deep symbolism acknowledged, which is great too, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm trying to find more explanation than what I've already tried to do. And I think because everybody's different, I want to hear what everyone has to say about it. What I have to say about Snow White is there's a parallel to midwinter, and that's a good time to, that midwinter is a great time to start your transformation, this initiation that's kind of pointed out in the number 7 by everybody that's looking into these things and fairy tales and film and that sort of thing. What I discovered from Snow White is that, yeah, starting before spring, in the dark of winter, just as the darkness starts to come back to the light, in midwinter is a good time to turn things around. For example, maybe someone with a drug problem, or someone with trying to quit smoking, or trying to get fit, or start martial arts, or these things that seem really hard and unachievable. The best time to do it is at the midwinter time. Case in point with me, I started up my boxing then, and now I'm sparring in the ring. I'm still getting the piss beaten out of me by 16-year-olds. But that's okay. It's happening. It's working. And acknowledging it at the time of midwinter has had a lot to do with that. And I learned that through Snow White stuff. You can check out previous episodes. Oh, excuse me. To how we got there. And then, yeah, and there's something in Snow White that is to do with, just human creativity, expression, endeavors that must be pursued at all costs to build that sacred masculine aspect up and build up that balance between the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine against the odds of perhaps a devouring mother or other odds that working against you, that your human endeavors are more important than family oppression. So there you go. Get out there, get creating, be yourself at all costs to be who you're supposed to be. Thank you so much for tuning in to Otherworld Connections. You are listening to Revolution Radio. And hey, I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Much love. Take care out there, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye for now.